Greetings everyone, welcome to my Discord board tutorial series. It's your host Nishad aka Dev Striker, and in today's video we're going to create a leader chat board or message leaderboard in this case. So we're going to store the number of message a user types in with their name, and we're going to rank them in the top 10 base. And once we type in a command, it will give us a image based result into our Discord. So I'm very excited. So let's get started. Now, in terms of prerequisites for this project, those who just join in to this tutorial series, I would suggest to look for the link down below in the descriptions for my GitHub, and you can go ahead and clone or download the zip file and follow the installation guide, where you can simply type in, if you have Python installed and pip Python package manager, then you can type in the following command within your environment or global package side. You can install them in either way, whichever way you feel comfortable, and it will install all the required packages and the necessary files that we need for this project. Now, if you're somebody who wants to follow along, then you're more than welcome. You can watch the part 1 where how I have set up the project and got started with the installation, etc. And if you're looking for the shortcuts, then I'll quickly cruise through some of the installation files, which is first thing first, you're going to need discord.py installed on your computer. So make sure whichever operating system you have installed, or you're using any environmental file systems or virtual environment, then make sure to follow this section. All the links will be down below in the descriptions again. Then the next one I'm using, it's Pillow for image manipulations. So make sure you have the right version installed. And here are some of the small version of packages that I'm using to do nitty-gritty bits for my projects. So this is for setting up my env files, where I fetch my token files. And next is the request, where I use to request any URLs that I'm dealing with from any other APIs or libraries, etc. The next one, I'm using the date util for date conversions and etc. to make things much easier. And finally, using the tabulate, which is something to do with the tables, which we will use in this tutorial. And finally, you want to have a Discord account and whatnot. And you want to make sure you have a bot set up. And if you go down to the bot sections, you also want to make sure that your present intent is turned on and server member intent is turned on if you're using my source code, because I have enabled them in my gateway intent. Okay, that goes for the prerequisites. Let's jump into the project. So when you have the folder from our last video where we have left, where we created a Spotify commands, and now what we're going to do, we're going to add a new command. But before that, make sure that you also downloaded the chat leaderboard template, which is just an image template that we're going to use to paste our texts. And yeah, you should have that under the assets, and you're pretty much good. And other required folders such as the fonts and whatnot. So let's dive into that. So I'm going to quickly create a new command, and I'm going to call this one as the chat leaderboard. Right, that should be in terms of creating a new files, and we're going to create another directory that we're going to store our messages. So the count of the messages, the number of messages a user has typed. So we have to use create a storage facility here. You feel free to use any database that you want to use, either MongoDB or SQL. You're absolutely fine. And just for general purposes, I'm going to use JSON text files in order to do that, and you should be good. So let's go ahead and create that. I'm going to call this databases, and within there I'm going to create a new file and going to call this chat leaderboard .json. I'm just going to open a parenthesis there, and that should do. So I'm going to save all and got to close it out. And next thing, I want to make sure I'm using the env file in order to get my bot token. So for you, it should be empty or some text there to tell you that you have to enter your token there. So you want to go back to your developer application portal and copy your bot token and paste it there. And this goes for the setup of the project overall. Now let's dive into the commands. So now we'll start with the chat leaderboard command, and we're going to start with the importing some of the packages that we have installed. So import JSON and then import Discord. The JSON is by default available, so you don't need to install that. Then I'm going to import my tablet here. From tablet, import tablet, should do, and then from discord.ext, import commands. And then finally the image library, which is pil, P-I-L, import image. Then we're going to draw an image. And then we're gonna do the image font, but I like the order in this case here, so I'm gonna bring, because the font should, I'm just gonna bring it right here, so no worries, image font, so that should do. And finally we're gonna draw them, so we load the image, get the font sorted, and then right. And now let's create a class, which is chat leaderboard, and which will take commands.cog. And let's initialize our method, dev init, which will take bot as a parameter, object, bot object. So self.bot is equal to bot. And let's do this setup real quick. So define setup, which will also take the bot object. And here we're going to add that to our extension. So bot dot add cog. And over here, I'm just going to call our chat leaderboard class itself, and which takes the bot object. Perfecto, and it's probably going to ask me to format, so let's go ahead and do that. Perfectly fine. So now the first logic that we're going to solve is to store the messages. So when a user types in every time, we want to ensure that we collect the user name or ID specifically, because many people can have the same name, but they cannot have the same ID. So in the logic is here that we're going to store each ID as a key value pairs, and we're going to store their message count into their keys. So the key is the user, the value is their account. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say add commands .cog .listener, and that should be for the decorators, and I'm going to use async define on message. So when somebody types in message, and yeah, and it's gonna take the message object with this. Should be fine. The first thing first, we're going to check the author of the message shouldn't be a bot, right? So if not message dot author, so the person who's typing the message shouldn't be a bot, simply because we don't want to count them in, right? And the next thing we're going to check is that the message that somebody's typing, it's not a prefix of a command or a command itself. So every command starts with a prefix, right? So we're going to ensure that that doesn't happen. Now, in the case of if you have a custom commands and you're storing those commands somewhere else, you can either do what you can do. You can import your prefix object, or you can create that as a global object or global variable, and you can call the super, and you can import or anywhere any of the classes you like. That will solve your issue. And if you're having difficulty to do that because of the lack of experience in programming, then what you can do, wherever you're storing, you can iterate through there and make sure that all of those prefixes are not there when somebody's typing in, right? But in this case, as I simply have declared a prefix to my main.py, which is the main class in this case for the board. And if we go down here, so we have hard coded the value, which is not a really customizable because I wanted to keep things simple. Then you are totally fine if you do that, because my idea was to that if you have a community server and you want to create your own custom board, then it should serve the purposes, right? You should be good. But if you're serving large community, then you should also have to expand your capability of the board, and you want to think about how you want to productionize in the level of that it serves more than 1 or 2 servers, right? That's the idea behind it. So we're going to do that. If not message dot content starts with, so it should not start with the exclamation mark, because that's our prefix of the board, right? And now what we're going to do, we're going to load the files, and we're going to store there. We're going to get the chat and the user ID of the author. So let's do that real quick. So with open, and we're going to open, right, and let's do this, and we're going to call our databases here. So databases, and then within databases we have chat leaderboard.json. Right, as file, excuse me, yep, that should be fine. And now we're going to take the chat data and load the file into a new variable, and then basically assign and take our user ID. So let's do that. Chat data equals to json.load, and we're going to load the file object, and then user. So I'm going to call this new user, because brand new user, and we're going to say message dot author dot ID. So every user is going to be treated as a new user, but we're going to assign some values or add the new user with the value based on some two different logics. So this new user could be our old user. So we're going to have to write some logic in order to store their value into their locations, right? Into their key value pairs. And we're going to say update existing user. So this is where we're going to update our existing user. And next, if this user is a completely new, then we want to add new user, right? So let's go ahead and do the first one. So if new user in chat data, which is in the file of data, so basically within the chat leaderboard, is it there or not? That's what it's gonna check. So let's do. Then if this is the case, then do chat data, and the new user object, we're gonna add 1 to that, right? and then we're going to update our file. So with open, and let's do this. So data basis slash chat leaderboard.json. So I'm just going to copy this. It's going to take less time. And we're going to say as update user data. And we're going to say json.dump method. And we're going to dump the chat data with the updated data. And then I'm going to indent them by 4. So that's just not squeezed together. Perfect. Hopefully there's no error for this. So let's do the next one, which is what happens if we don't, that is not the case, right? So else chat data, and we're going to say new user equals 1. So he just type in a message, and that is the first value he gets. Right, and I'm going to say with open. Okay. I'm just going to copy this location, paste it here as new user data. Right, and I'm going to dump it again, json.dump. I'm going to take the existing chat data and the new user data, and I'm going to send that to indent as 4. So it's nice and neat. So let's go ahead and test this. So hopefully we'll see in actions, and let's go ahead and hit save. And let's run the code. And our bot is online. Let's go here. Let's go to our Discord. If you have Discord app, it should be fine. I have opened this on my local browser. So I'm just going to type in something, hello world, and let's go and have a look. Right, so there are some issues right here. So discord.dump. Right, let's take a look. What is the problem on line 30? And JSON top chat data user indent. Yes, that should be fine. Unless this is a Windows case. So for Mac and Linux, I believe they can access the file this way. But just in case for Windows, that's not the case. And we probably have to try backslashing. Because I do know that that's what something happens always to me. Because when I'm switching to one operating system to another. Sorry for that. Okay. So my mistake here, I do apologize. I have to tell the JSON what exactly it wants to do with the file. So that was a little stupid. So I need to tell them, you need to read the file, and over here you have to write on that file, right? So let's do W, and let's do W here. And let's save all. That's what it's asking, saying, bro, what do you want me to do with the file? You're telling me to look into the file, but you know, I'm not sure. So let's see if that fixes the thing. So let's wait for the bot to come online. Let's go here and I'll type in hello. Right, so let's take a look. So there you go. This is the ID that unique to me, and this is the first message that I typed in. So now let's type a couple of messages. Right, hi, What's up? Again, hello. So we typed in a couple of messages and let's see if they get registered, and that is registered to the specific user. Fine. So this is the key, this is the value, key pair value, right? Cool. So it is working, and there shouldn't be an issue. So again, make sure when you writing a file, you declare that what the program want to do with that file, which is to read in this case for the first one here, and then we writing based on our logic. So if it's existing user, we're going to write to that file, and if it's a new user, we're also going to write to that file. Perfect. Good. And now we're going to design our command where we're going to trigger a command and it's going to send that file to our Discord, hopefully. So let's do that. So we're gonna do the commands, add commands dot commands. Yes, that goes for the decorator, and let's do the async define, and we're gonna call this just a chat, so self, and it takes cityx, right? So that should be fine, and let's go ahead and open the file. So we need to take the data from the text file, right? So I'm gonna say with open, and I'm gonna quickly grab this location just to save some time. This one will be better because I want to read the file. So that's the location, and I want the file to open and read. And as file, and now let's load that. And I'm going to load the file. Right, that should be good. And now I'm going to separate them. So basically, I want to take the key of the user ID. So if I open, I want to load this one and this one separately. It's a value basically. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say user ID, so all the IDs that are present in there, I'm going to turn them into list. I'm going to say chat data dot keys, right? Yep, that should be okay. And then I'm going to call for user message count. So all the counts. I'm going to turn that into a list. I'm going to say chat data dot values. Right? Perfecto. So yeah. And now I'm going to store them into a new array or list, in this case in Python, because we're going to sort them by message order, and turn whatever we want to do. We can play around with that, so that's why I'm going ahead with this route. So I'm going to say new leader board. Let's take the array or list in this case, and I'm going to enumerate for index user ID and enumerate the user IDs and the first. So 0th position is the that, and the 1st is that position. So basically, let's do that, and we're gonna say new leaderboard dot append, and we're gonna append the user ID with the user message count. We're going to set the index position to -1. Perfect. So what we can do, we can actually test this one real quick. Before that, I also want to go ahead and do the sort algorithm real quick. So this is just a basic sorting. We're using lambda functions, so nothing very complicated. So I'm gonna do sort leaderboard order by user message count. I'm gonna sort the leaderboard order by that. So I'm going to say new leaderboard dot sort, and within there I'm going to pass in the key is equal to lambda. I'm going to say all the items in items, and I want to sort. So 0 is the key and the 1 is the value, so I want to sort it by the value, and I'm going to set that to reverse equals true. Right, so let's test this. So first I'm going to go ahead and print here, and let's print the leaderboard to see how's it going. And obviously I have only one significant data here, so what I can do, I can duplicate. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11 12 13 14 15 of them, right? And what I'm gonna do, just gonna add a comma to all of them, sorry, and let's do this real quick. And that should be fine, and I don't want that for the last one. So yeah, that should be fine. And I'm gonna test another way, because I want to make sure that it is working, right? So 1 here. So basically, again, I'm just gonna pause real quick so that you can see what I'm trying to do here. So this is what I mean. I wanted to test this out. So I have a 15. Let's assume that there are 15 users, although I don't have at the moment 15 users to test this fully. But I'm going to create a dummy just to test that my logic and my algorithm works perfectly. So I have 15 of them, and you can see they go by order. Now, when I sort them, it should be reversed, right? So the 15 should come before, because I'm sorting that by the message count. So let's go ahead and save this real quick. And over here, I'm just going to print that out. And yeah, that should be fine. So the chat command, yeah, let's do test. Right, and let's do the chat command here. And there you go. You can see it printed out the in order fashion that I would like. So basically, I have told him to do that. So basically 15, 14, 13, 12. So we got all of them, right? Now, there are 15 users, but if you recall that my template says there are top 10 chat leaderboard, so meaning that there are only top 10 people will be listed here, so not all of them. Technically, you could fit them, but it will, in this case, I just wanted to show the top 10 here, basically. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we want to do here, we want to do slice, right? So basically we want from the first index to only 10. So a slice takes starting point to the end point, and then basically you can have how many steps you want. So that's just slicing in general in Python programming. So I want 10 of these. So let's go ahead and see that it returns that, so we can ensure that our logic is perfectly good for further implements from this point. And we're going to type that in. So chat command, and let's see. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Perfect. So we got 10 of these, and we can see they're in order fashion. So basically the highest number is the first one, and then as it goes. Perfect. That's absolutely fine. So we have tested this bit, and we can go forward with the next implementation. Before going ahead with the next step, we want to quickly look and investigate the design that I have done here that we will shortly implement, but just for the sake of understanding, is that we have some of the headers of the columns and all the data are pending and by row by row. That is the basic things when you see it. However, the way I have gone is that each of them, their column in itself. So for rank here, it will have its own. For name, it is also in its own, and the messages, it's also in its own. And then what I do is that turn that column into a table, standalone table. So this is one table itself and the next table, and there's another table. In that way, what happens is that when your names are squeezing in or you have a long name somebody has set up, then you can, all we have to do is adjust the x-axis and y-axis of positions of our text. So that way you don't run into issues of looking very ugly tables where your data could be let's say on the left side when you want it to the right side, or it's not appending correctly. So for that, I took the logic and implemented it. But if you don't like it, you can do your own experiment and write your own. So let's get started to implement that. We're going to take 3 new columns. First one, we're going to call that user rank column is equal to an empty array or the list in this case, and then user name column is equal to the empty array. It's taking too many space, and then user message count. So message count column equal to empty array, right? And we're going to append each one of them individually from our previous array or list in this case to the new one, all individually, because now they're sorted and they have taken care of and I don't have to worry about them, right? So first one we're going to encounter is the user rank. Then we're going to be countering user names followed by user messages count. Right. Yep. Yep, that should be fine. So let's implement the first one. So I'm going to say for rank index and the rank value in enumerate the leaderboard, right? And remember, on the leaderboard we have sliced to get the only top 10 values, so we're going to do that here. So top 10. And now what we're going to do is append the rank to a rank column array itself, or list in this case. So let's say user rank column dot append, and I'm going to say rank index. So we're going to call now the rank, it's basically going by the index, so we want 1 to 10, but you remember that in programming index position starts at 0, so we want to make that basically plus by 1. So basically how do I put this together? So it shouldn't be 0, should be 1, then 1 should be 2, sort of stuff. So basically 1 position up. So rank index plus 1, right? And that should do for this. And let's move to the next one, where, let me scroll down a little. So for name index and I'm going to say name value in enumerate, and I'm going to say new leaderboard as same as that, and I'm going to take the first 10 names by the sorting that we have done, and yeah, and then let's append. Now here I'm saying name, but if you recall that we only have user ID there, so we have to fetch each user's name by their ID, so their name and their tag potentially here. So let's do that. User name column dot append, and we're going to say await self dot bot. We're going to call our bot object, so self dot bot dot fetch user, and we're going to pass in the integer object, so we're going to say int name value, and that is in the 0th positions in our files, and that should return all the usernames, right? So that should be good. And let's go down, and the user message count, again we're going to append that too, so I'm going to say for message count index, and then message count value in enumerate, and we're going to pass in the new leaderboard that we have, and we're going to take the 10 of those, and we're going to append user message count column dot append, and we're going to append the message count, which is the key is the 0 and the value is 1 in our text file, so basically here, so we're going to pass that in. So I'm going to say message count value, I'm going to pass it first, there you go, and that should do. And now, like I said, once we have the column, I'm going to individually add those columns to the standalone table itself, just to avoid all those bugs in the image itself. So Pillow could mess up your data the way it looks, so as we discussed. So let's take care of that. So this is going to be add column to table, and what we're going to say is here, this first table is user rank table, and we're going to call our tabulate, and here we're going to pass in the first parameter is user rank column, so that array itself, and then we're going to type in the format of the table. So table format, I'm going to set that to plain, or plain in this case. Basically, I don't want any kind of design, but you can take a look at their documentation and see if you want to upgrade the design. And we can also set the headers. So the header is going to be the title of that tables, and that's going to be, first one is going to be just a hash. And I'm going to set the new line to give some space, and the next one is I'm going to set the alignment to left. So I'm going to have all the tables aligned to the left, so it looks nice and neaty. Perfect. So that should be fine. So I'm going to duplicate this 3 times because I only have 3 columns to take care of. So the next one I'm going to change just the name. So it's going to be user table. And the next one is going to be the message count. and the message count, right? And now we're going to have to copy and paste those columns. So the next one is username column. So I'm just going to copy there and paste it there. And the next column for the next table is the user message count. This is fine. This table format I wanted to set, but here things will change. So first one, it's going to be name. And the next one, it's going to be the messages, right? So how many messages they type, so messages. And I'm going to push the enter just to make things look nice. Yeah, so far we're good. So this goes our table. So our table is ready, right? And now we are ready to add this table to our image, which we have the template. So now we're going to go ahead and quickly save this. I'm sure it should be fine, but if you want to test this point, go ahead and test this one. You can try sending this table to your Discord. It will be fine, but I'm going to go ahead and do the image. So in image, we're going to load image. And then next we're going to do is font. So set the font. Then we're going to set the positions. And then we're going to draw them. And finally, save images. Right, perfect. And then we're going to send await.ctx send to our Discord. So let's go ahead and do that image first. So I'm going to say image template is equal to image.open. And within here, I'm going to pass in the location, which is under assets folder. We have the template. So let's go ahead and do that. .assets / chat. Let's go leaderboard.png. Right. And just in case, what I'm going to do here, obviously this is fine for Windows and Linux, Mac, but I'm just going to be a little bit cautious here and do this for Windows, so then there's no moaning for it. Image.open, yeah, so assets folder, and chat leaderboard, and then template, I guess is called template. Yeah, that's the name. So chat leaderboard template.png, that's the file. Just ensuring the spelling is correct. And the next, let's go ahead and set the font. So font is equal to image font dot true type, and here we're going to pass in the name of our font, which is here. You can find that on the GitHub repository as well as if you haven't downloaded it yet. So I'm going to type that in, the bold font dot TTF format, right? And set the size to 14 for all of them. So I'm just going to use one of them, but feel free to design wherever you like. Everything could be found on the documentation of Pillow. They have a nice nitty-gritty bits where you can pick up and experiment yourself. So let's go and do the position. So first position is for the rank text position. And yes, we're going to type the position in. So 30 on the x-axis and the y-axis is 50. And the name text position, it's going to be 80 on the x-axis and 50 on the others. And then we're going to have message count text position equals to 350 on the x-axis and y-axis 50. That should be fine. Now I have experimented this number and I have written down, to be honest, didn't want it to spend too much on this video. So you can go ahead and position, if you're using your custom image, you probably have to tweak them. in order to get the correct position for them. And then finally we're going to draw them to our template. So I'm going to say draw on image is equal to, I'm going to call our image draw from the imports dot draw, and pass in the image template where we exactly want it to be drawing. So you want to draw on that template, right? And then gonna call this one, so which is draw on image dot draw. Sorry, I'm gonna draw the text. Do apologize. So draw the text, and the text will take the position, which is the first one is rank text positions, and then the table. So we want that table to be there. So user rank table, and then set the color, which is white, and then font is equal to font. That should be it. So that's the first one. So I'm going to duplicate it 3 times because we need it for rank, name, and the message count. 1, 2, 3. And going to change this to name text position. So I'm going to copy this real quick to save time. And the next one is going to be message. So I'm going to copy that. And we know that we're going to get the user name table. And here is going to be user message count table. Right. And rest should be perfectly fine. And finally, let's go ahead and save the image. So image template dot convert, can convert to the RGB here, red, green, and blue. RGB dot save, and I'm gonna call the file. I'm just gonna save it as the name. So basically, chat leaderboard dot JPEG file, so JPG. I'm going to pass in the format again, declare it, so JPEG, JPEG. So it's going to save that as that file, the final work, and then we're going to save that file using Discord. So send this file using Discord library, which we have imported, hopefully. Yeah, Discord is there. So let's go and do that. Await ctx.send, and I'm going to say file is equal to discord.file, and we're going to simply copy this. So this is the file we're sending, right? That's perfect. Good. And nothing is complaining. Yeah, cool. We will, if there's an issue, we'll debug, and for that, if you go to main.py, I left some command error handlers right here. You can uncomment that, right, and you will be able to send your error with that. If you want to, like, if you're seeing whatever in the terminal, so if you're not satisfied with that, you can go ahead and do this. So I'm going to quickly go enable that and save all of it. Let's close this out and let's run. So let's go to our Discord. Our bot is online. Just gonna say hello, a couple of words. Word, hi. Right, and now let's try using the command itself. So first, let's check if it has been registered. So there are 3 messages, and the current message that I'm typing should not get registered. Remember that the command prefix doesn't do it. So I'm going to type in chat, and let's go see that in action. There you go. So if I open this image,